acutely aware that I'm standing between you and lunch, so I will be brief. Lauren got me involved in part because she had an idea for a collaborative platform, and that was in some ways almost as far as it got, those two words, a collaborative platform. So it was then trying to work through that basic idea about what can this collaborative platform be in this conversation between South Africa and the UK, which is ultimately what the project is. And we refine this sort of actually post getting the grant in terms of sharing between students to inform the curriculum shaping, teaching methods and so on, but realistically to get conversations going between students in the UK and students in South Africa about a set of topics. And that essentially has been the brief here. So in those conversations with Lauren, I said, well, it needs to be something relatively simple, it needs to be a place of exchange, but also to reflect on commonalities and differences in those challenges. So, okay. Now, there's a budget for developing something, but there seemed to be very little point spending money to develop something before we knew what it quite was we wanted it to do. So we're sort of at the pilot phase at the moment. There's plenty of social media platforms that are available that allow cross-cultural discussion. Some of them are interesting in issues around privacy. I'm sure everyone here has Snapchat because you're all 14. But Snapchat has just introduced a location feature within Snapchat, which has really serious implications for privacy. Most people aren't aware of the fact that as soon as you open Snapchat, your friends can see where you are, unless you turn that off. It's really, really problematic. Where you do have social media, a lot of time the mapping stuff which can be done is a bit of an awkward bolt-on. There's things like the 1 million tweet map, which kind of constantly updates with all the social media data which is geotagged. Actually, surprisingly little social media data is geotagged because of this issue around privacy. But if you're interested in planning issues, then geotagging, having geolocation data is actually pretty significant. So as I say, we had a budget to develop a platform, but we've had a play in the meantime. I've built sort of a pilot smartphone and desktop app on some existing tools using ArcGIS Online, which we have a subscription to, and we can therefore share that subscription with, we host it on there and can share that with all of our different partners. As I say, there's lots of different tools available. We've chosen this crowdsourcing web app tool. It works across different platforms. And if you want to have a play with it, then on the SAPER website, there's a little tab saying contribute. And we've got a kind of a demonstrator up on there, which I'll just take you through briefly. Now, I won't show you a live demo because we're running out of time today, but essentially, nice, pretty interface. You can, as I say, access it. This is a kind of a mobile phone grab. And you can contribute either on the desktop or on your mobile phone, and it's not platform dependent. So a lot of kids in South Africa, when we went to have a look, were using Windows phones, which are pretty uncommon here. So this is platform agnostic even. So it can work across multiple platforms. You basically take a picture, and it automatically geotags it. You put some comments on, and so we build up a crowdsourced map of different issues. The thing is, it's not necessarily appropriate to wave a smartphone around in the field. I wouldn't want to wander around some of the informal settlements saying, hello, here's my £600 phone, would you like to steal it from me? And I'm sure the same would be true of various bits of Birmingham as well. So there's an appropriate use of this kind of technology. So we allow, you can upload existing photographs and sort of drag them into the right location if you don't want to use a location service on your phone, or you don't have data on your phone to do this. You end up with something like this. This is the desktop version of the app, and you can see all the different images which have been uploaded for a particular site, and you can zoom in and see comments that people are putting on these different photographs. It basically allows you to get a group of people to contribute to a collective map of images and text. We've got 2 pilots set up thus far. The first is around sustainability. We've got environmental planning as one of the big topics in the South African, the Bloemfontein curriculum. So we have guys from the UFS, and then we're going to do this as a pilot exercise within the Freshers Week orientation exercise on the MSc here. The spring pilot is on issues of informality. This raises some quite interesting points, different manifestations of informality, key issue, but actually we're exploring this with geography students in both cases. This raises issues about how we actually fit these kind of collaborative discussions into existing curricula. So I'd say we're at the pilot stage, but it's then something to reflect on in terms of being able to alter curricula to fit things like this in, as well as get the timing right across the two locations to make those discussions happen. So students then do a group discussion online. So it's not through the platform that I've built. You can find a bunch of different techniques for having that kind of discussion across. We could integrate that into a future app that we develop. Again, this is what do we need from this? I've put a kind of a series of things together, some model teaching notes for how you might want to write up a kind of joint report. But basically, we want to sort of say this is really about what's the added value in terms of cross-cultural teaching that we can get through using a platform like this or a platform that we develop. So it's really thinking about what do we want this kind of cross-cultural teaching to do, whether we would need to actually go out and get a developer to build something bespoke with all the problems that involves in terms of how it works across platforms, whether students already have platforms they quite like using and it's simply a case of encouraging them to use those to talk to each other, whether we'd want additional features, and then that kind of issue of, okay, nice to have a UK-South Africa pilot, but we have lots of different international contacts, particularly the Brazil and the Jordanian cases. So actually being able to do a much wider rollout of discussing informality across UK, South Africa, Brazil, Jordan. So those are the sort of, that's the scope of what we're attempting to do. We've got the pilot set up, and we're going to see what happens. That's my bit.